Thank you everybody for being here. I want to show you guys a picture of my mom. She loved to cook, she loved adventure, and she definitely loved her kids. She was also a giver, so she would give her shirt off of her back, even if it meant she had nothing. But unfortunately, she is no longer here with us due to a synthetic opioid known as fentanyl. And fentanyl is very dangerous and takes the lives of many. Fentanyl has many effects on our society. First, I will talk about the public health effects. Second, I will talk about the social effects. And lastly, I will talk about the crime effects. Fentanyl has an effect on our public health. The Government Accountability Office had stated that 60% of drug overdoses in the United States are due to a synthetic opioid, and it is primarily fentanyl. About 48,000 people had died back in 2024 due to a fentanyl overdose, and fentanyl increases the risk of an overdose because a lot of people who sell and traffic fentanyl cut it with other drugs like cocaine, heroin, meth, and even marijuana. Pickens gathered data and showed that the amount of emergency department visits had increased by 8.7% per quarter from the years of 2020 to 2023. That includes your police calls, an ambulance ride, a trip to an emergency room, even first responders that call to assist people with a fentanyl overdose. So now that I've talked about the public health effects, we can move on to the social effects. Fentanyl causes several social effects. Silverstein found that people often segregate themselves into opioid and stimulant prominent areas. My mother is a fine example of this. She chose to live in areas where she could buy and use drugs freely so that she wouldn't have to face consequences from the police. And fentanyl also tears families apart, whether it's somebody in active addiction or somebody who accidentally used fentanyl. It can end up killing people, and it can end up changing people to where they want to be unhoused, move, or just be away from their family. Silverstein also discovered the social stigma of fentanyl. People tend to avoid others who use drugs and fentanyl, and they also avoid areas where fentanyl is predominant. And that also affects our businesses and towns stop flourishing. So now that I've talked about the social effects of fentanyl, we can move on to the effects of crime. Fentanyl has an effect on crime. According to the United States Sentencing Commission, the number of fentanyl offenders that were reported had doubled with each fiscal year since 2015. It went from 84 arrests to 884 offenders for fentanyl. Almost half of these offenders were also trafficking another drug. Williamson noted that most of the time, fentanyl is often combined with heroin, crack, cocaine, meth, and my mother was a victim to that. She was sold heroin that wasn't supposed to have fentanyl. If she had known about the fentanyl, she wouldn't have bought the heroin. And one of these offenders did end up killing my mom. So now that I've talked about the public health effects, I discussed the social effects, and lastly, I told you about the crime effects. We can now see that fentanyl has many effects on our society. Fentanyl wasn't supposed to be trafficked on the streets. It was supposed to be used for medical purposes, something that was supposed to help people in severe pain. But it has now turned into something much greater, and something is now killing the lives of people in our society. Thank you.